Hey there, welcome to a new album review, and today we have Sleep Token with the 2 EP. Why 2 and not 1? So funny story, I just was looking at the discography and I saw 1 and I saw 2 and I thought, oh, it means they have 1 EP, 2. Because, sometimes bands kind of like weird naming conventions or whatever. And only then, after listening to it, did it occur to me that I was like, oh wait, hold up. 1 was the EP and 2 was the other EP. They have 2 EP. No, I don't know why my brain made that connection. I was just like, that was very dumb. I don't know, but yeah, basically they have 2 EPs. One's called 1, the other's called 2. Just FYI. Now, Sleep Token is a band that I've heard the name of a lot lately. I think they got really big this past 2 years especially, but I never listened to them or honestly gave a shit until the mighty YouTube algorithm. You know how many bands I've pretty much discovered thanks to YouTube algorithm. So YouTube recommended me their song called Damocles, I think it was, and I was like, well, it's a YouTube recommended, right? Clearly, it's good. And yeah, it was pretty nice. It was a pretty nice song, and I was like, look, these guys seem to be pretty popular, all things considered. Everyone seems to love them and everything. So I just decided, hell, why not? Let's actually look at look at a bit of their discography. Although I was a bit perhaps scared or afraid of just going into their discography entirely, so I was like, oh, okay, let's start with EP, let's see what these guys are all about, because I was usually when a band is too popular, I'm always afraid that I might not like it, because usually I don't tend to, okay, I like popular things, but I'm usually always afraid that I'm gonna be like a hater, because, I don't know, I tend to have a very peculiar taste sometimes, so, I was kind of afraid and whatnot, and I just decided, hell, why not? Let's actually give them a shot and listen to them. So I started with something small. I started with the 2 EP, the second EP. It is the second EP, but it's called 2. And honestly, I was not expecting what I was going to hear. A lot of people tend to talk about them, especially on the metal space, and what I heard was very much not metal, especially because okay, look, people talk about them on the metal space, people like to trash on them, because I know that this band apparently has a lot of haters or whatever, right? And on top of that, they wear masks and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, are they gonna be one of those hardcore acts or whatever? Nope. Damocles was this sort of indie rock song to it. I don't know, it was very light, all things considered. And this EP, I just start hearing someone sing and that's it. The first song, Calcutta, it's someone just singing at the beginning, and I was like, wait, what the hell? I thought, why are people talking about this band on metal spaces? The fuck, this isn't even metal, right? And then, I heard the middle of the song and I was like, oh, that's why people talk about this on metal spaces. Yeah, so essentially, Sleep Token, to me at least, again, I've heard 4 songs, so I don't know, but as far as this EP goes, it's sort of this blend of indie rock and even pop rock at times with metal. And one thing that I actually appreciate a lot is the drummer clearly is very talented and gets really technical sometimes. I think it was towards the end of Nazareth, the second song on the EP, that he was actually being really technical with his drumming, and I think that's what perhaps draws so many people to Sleep Token, is that sure, they have that melodic style of an indie rock band, and definitely very beautiful songs, especially on Calcutta. I was like, oh shit, this is actually a really nice song, again, I can see why people feel so attracted to the band, I guess, if this EP is anything to go by. But then, they also have this sort of mix of other genres to them and create this very, unique sound. As much as I want to call them just an indie rock band or a pop rock band or whatever, or a, alt metal or whatever the fuck you would call them, right? It's kind of hard to do that because they're not exactly any of them. They're kind of all of them, but not any of them. I think it was towards Jericho, towards the end again, where you had this proper very heavy guitar, very distorted guitar, sort of like the djenty guitar and djenty bass, you know what I mean? That sort of like very heavy, very distorted thing, which creates a very cool dynamic between the very clean melodic singing, this sort of like, again, this sort of like indie pop, indie rock type song, and just very heavy type metal, right? It's honestly a very cool dynamic, and I think it's easy to understand why they're so popular, because honestly, listening to this album, I was like, actually, this was a really nice experience, like it wasn't metal, sure, and it definitely wasn't indie anything either. It was just like everything sort of put together in this very like cool fusion to it, creating like this very unique sound. I mean, look, I'll say I understand like to a certain degree why why a lot of people, I guess, trash on them, because when I say it's unique, I don't mean like it's something that is completely shattering in terms of my expectations of what can be done with music. It's not. It's definitely not. Like a lot of these things that they do, you've already heard them before. In fact, I think that what's their band? Like, there's a very popular band that sort of like did that sort of post-hardcore type melodic stuff. Bring Me the Horizon, I think. I don't know if it's that bad, but whatever. Like, I understand, like, it's not earth-shattering things, but it's very nice. It's a very nice fusion, and it's very clean, and clearly there's a very, like, clear direction and everything, and it was just a very, very honestly good time, like, because sometimes I feel a little bit afraid when it comes to bands that do a lot of fusions, because it's like, sometimes I feel like you might end up liking one more than the other, like one part of the fusion more than the other, so like I was like, will I end up liking the heavy part more or the clean part more? I like both. I think that this is one of the few times with fusions where the fusion just creates something kind of like unique that, like, I feel like, for example, Jericho, very good example, that song would not hit as hard without the heavy parts, and I think it wouldn't be as good without the clean ones, you know what I mean? Like, it's like both parts sort of need each other in order to be able to function, because otherwise I think that they would just be sort of very, like, not basic. I think that they could survive on their own, but definitely in a way to like stand out and to actually carry like the full message and the full weight of everything, because that's something that I noticed. Like, a lot of these EPs, basically, clean section builds slowly to the heavy section, right? That's sort of like what the EP is, right? I mean, obviously it's only 3 songs, so I don't have a lot to go off of, but that's sort of what the EP is. So it's like the heavy sections aren't so much used, as to say that, oh, we're metal, but they're more used to like carry that heavy impact of, sort of eating you harder, right? It's not so much about, oh yeah, we have heavy guitars, as much as it is, we go from clean vocals, and to enhance that sort of feeling, that the vibe, the mood that the song is trying to establish, right? The emotion that the song is trying to convey, we then go heavy, right? We build towards being heavy, to sort of this peak of the song, right? So yeah, honestly, color me surprised. I liked what I heard. I don't know if their full albums are like this. Definitely, I mean, as far as I could check on the Democles song, not entirely like this EP, but you do have a lot of the clean singing, a lot of the indie rock aspect to it, especially. So, perhaps this is, I mean, again, like, maybe their song or their sound is just completely different when it comes to the full albums. I don't know, sometimes bands experiment a lot and they release EPs to not have to release full albums, right? But as far as what I've heard here, honestly, I can kind of understand why people hate Sleep Token, and it's basically because people just can't have a good time. Personally, as far as I'm concerned, I enjoy that quite a lot, like, I think this is just a lot of people just hating on something that's popular for the sake of being popular, because in reality, look, it's good. Like, I can understand why. I think it has that quality of being appealing to a general audience, while also just being good music, honestly, and just being very enjoyable, because like, as someone who doesn't tend to listen to like a lot of pop, for example, I mean, I have my bouts with pop, and I do listen to some pop artists, but like, I don't generally listen to pop artists, and I mostly like stay on the metal side of things, or the EDM side of things, are the two biggest genres that I tend to listen to, right? And like, I guess, maybe when I can see it, like, maybe 10 years ago I would would have been the type of person to be like, oh, you like Sleep Token, pff, you know, there's some posers in the scene or whatever, you know, like who cares about them, you know. So I can understand why people hate on them, right? But I think that if you are kind of mature, who cares, bro? Like, you know, if you don't like them, it's fair. I understand why people wouldn't like them, especially if you're more, you know, an hardcore metal fan that likes, you know, especially hardcore, post-hardcore stuff or whatever, right? But, you know, they're good, honestly. I like them a lot, and my vibe meter is pointing me to a strong, like, 8 out of 10, I would say. I think 8 out of 10 is fair. So, yeah, honestly, I'm kind of excited now to check out their actual... I was a bit scared going into it, but I'm kind of excited to check out their full albums. Honestly, I think probably I'll also listen to one, because again, that was just my fuck up entirely, so I kind of feel like the need to correct that. So yeah, I'll probably actually do that, and then I'll go listen to one of their full albums, because yeah, honestly, I'm kind of excited. It's a pretty good band, honestly.